the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
And WrestleMania weekend is this weekend. And of course, yours truly will be doing post shows for WrestleMania right here, kingofpodcasts.com. So you can find all that this weekend. We'll do them on two separate nights, Saturday night and Sunday night. We'll take care of it like that. And if I get time, I'll try to go and catch Supercard of Honor. I plan to try to watch that for Ring of Honor. I don't know if I'll do a separate show on it or I'll just talk about it after the first one. But also during WrestleMania weekend, we don't have a TNA pay-per-view, which usually would coincide at this time as well. But we're not getting that. Probably better off because there's just way too much going on at the same time. If we had to go through the schedule of what's going on right now during WrestleMania weekend, it's probably a lot. But with WrestleMania upon us, you know, you would think that it would be, everything would be good momentum. Hey, Roman Reigns is all over the place. He was on with The Rock on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And, you know, Cody Rhodes was on the Today Show. And, you know, you see a lot of appearances all over the place. But there were a couple of interviews that happened this week that, were they necessarily good to have during this time of year? 3 in particular that did not put WWE in the best light. And I'm going to say, first of all, you got to look at the CM Punk interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, Becky Lynch's interview with Steve Fall. Ronda Rousey's had just a bit of a tour herself, and she's not even in the company right now, currently active. I don't know if she's ever coming back, but she went on News Nation. Whoever would take her, she went on and talked. And allegations were putting up front. Then you have the love letter from Janel Grant to put a damper on the possible lawsuit against Vince McMahon. Look, I mean, there's so much shit going on. AEW had some releases this week, but more than anything else, it's kind of just taking over the WrestleMania hype. Like, we got a WrestleMania card this weekend. It's pretty big, right? I mean, they do have 2 definite matches for main event quality that are really going to stand out a lot. When you're looking at Cody and Seth against Roman and The Rock, and Cody and Roman Part 2. Those 2 matches alone is what's going to make WrestleMania the big deal. Paul Heyman leading off for the Hall of Fame, great. And then some other matches that just got put together. I mean, listen, the championship matches, fine. We're going to get Sami Zayn going up against Gunther. The setup for that. Then you have Orton and Owens against Logan Paul, right? And on the women's side, Rhea and Becky. And Bayley and Io Sky, right? So that's all set into play. And then you have some of the matches that, you know, they just got dropped in the card like last minute. So we're going to rehash Dominik and Rey. We're just going to bring that back last minute and put a 6-man tag together. We're going to give Damage CTRL something to give Jade, Bianca, and Naomi, you know, put them together to take on Damage CTRL. Oh, by the way, not 6-man tag. Rey will be with Dragon Lee against Dominik and Santos Escobar. Right. Which, that's just another story in its own. And then, we're going to get Final Testament and the Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. They're going to go and face each other. We're just going to put that finally on WrestleMania as well. That's basically the idea. With a couple of other matches, Logan Paul, AJ Styles and LA Knight. Right? I mean, yeah, for the most part, listen, the card will be interesting. You have some matches that just got a very little put together for WrestleMania. But yeah, they were kind of working on them in TV, but really didn't build them up to a real crisp, right? A very short, just reheat. Like throw them in the microwave for 30 seconds, reheat them up. That's it. Like it's reheating leftovers. You've been building stuff on TV for a while, But you weren't building towards WrestleMania. You just said, you know what? We'll put it on there anyway. Why not? Which is what's happened with WrestleMania this year. I mean, it was obvious. You already knew. Listen, everything was set. They were sold out for months. So, hey, put a show together. And the only real part-timer you really have out there that's, besides Logan Paul, is The Rock. Now, here's the thing I got to bring up about this. People want to go ahead and complain about AEW. You know, I'm not the one that's trying to be here to be an apologist or to have to defend that company all the time. I enjoy their programming. And every time I say that, I get criticized for it. Okay. You know, sorry, but in 40 years, I've always had other wrestling companies that I favored over WWF or WWE. I'm sorry. Okay. When WWF was very popular, hey, I enjoyed it a lot. I watched primetime wrestling pretty religiously. I watched Saturday Night's Main Event. I stayed up for that. Couldn't get the pay-per-views, but hey, man, you know, closed circuit TV was not that easy to go and get. I wasn't going to pay for it. My parents were going to pay for it. But for what it's worth, I had so much other wrestling to watch. Championship Wrestling for Florida, World Championship Wrestling, World Class Championship Wrestling, UWF, Glow. We had so much. Like, I wasn't missing much by the fact that we had such a slew of wrestling at the time. In the 90s, okay, when we had WWF with the Attitude, okay, let's never forget. The reason that the WWF actually changed themselves to where they were is because of the ECW. It's not even a question. It's not even up for debate. I don't believe it is. Because first of all, I enjoyed ECW in 96 and 97. Okay? I had the black box to watch Barely Legal. And I watched on Sunshine Network at 2 a.m. every Saturday night. I recorded on VCR. Or if I caught it late, I was late at night and I was home on a Saturday night, I watched. It was fun. Those pay-per-views were awesome. And then WCW was my second favorite. Because the truth was, you know, they had great characters in WWF. The Attitude Era had loads of characters. But they also had the mid-card stuff that I really didn't care too much about. Val Venus, You know, New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, You know, we had certain things that were in there that didn't test. Edgeheads, no, not really. Edgy Christian, it's okay. Like, their matches were great, but like, I didn't really care for the flash photography and all their other stuff they were doing. I wasn't too much into certain stars that got brought over from WCW and brought into the space. Like, you know, okay. The Radicals being brought in, right? When you have Benoit and Guerrero and Jericho and all those making their way over, and Saturn. Like, yeah, man, I get it. But it was always like, once they made switches over, and my wrestling appetite always goes by that. Because remember, when we lost WCW and ECW folded, I really took a break because I didn't want to see what WWE was going to do with those stars. And so I basically stayed away for about 3 years. Yeah, so I missed Hollywood Rock. I caught it back up again. I saw Eric Bischoff as general manager. I saw what they had in that. I saw some of the matches they had in the WrestleManias they had. Okay, I got that. I get it. JBL's a champion, you know. John Cena's rise up to ruthless aggression. Yeah, I get all that part. Randy Orton's comeuppance, evolution. Yeah, I mean, I caught back up. But I wasn't going to catch all that live. The Alliance? Oh. The invasion angle that took 6 months? I wasn't going to watch that. I could have told you it was a train wreck. When they decided to go in pre-WCW to WWE, that was a train wreck. I could have told you that. Because why? The fans always want this, okay? You want square peg in a round hole. You want that WWE will also cater to the finicky, hardcore fan. Which is why you've gotten certain stars when, at the time in the Attitude Era, when you did get Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, you know, Kurt Angle, and all these others, right? The next run, you get in and you bring in some of those stars that are coming in from NXT, which is what Triple H was doing. Oh, let's get in Daniel Bryan. Let's get in, Seth Rollins. Let's go and get in here and get some of these indie darlings over here and move them over. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, right? But the thing is that that's, again, the WWE is meant for what they are. And Triple H, the detriment to him is trying to cater to that other, the bubble crowd that's like, they want the hardcore wrestling to be in that company. They insist it has to be there. Meanwhile, Edge was going on tonight, or Adam Copeland was going on AEW at the start of the show tonight, loving the fact that AEW, and the way he put it in the promo, that if it's a role, AEW does make wrestling fun. AEW does put wrestling on the map, and they made WWE push harder. Now, it's not a competition. That's not the part. But I'm sure that the locker room is going to realize, you can say what you want about AEW. You can say what you want about Tony Khan, but that roster is fantastic. They got a lot of great talent, a lot of great matches, and even I will sometimes not keep up and catch up with what they're doing over there, but their pay-per-views are standouts, man, every time. And WWE right now, lately, has got pretty good pay-per-views, but WWE is not wrestling. It's not just wrestling. And you're not going to change that narrative. You're not going to change that feeling anytime soon. The culture that is World Wrestling Entertainment is going to stay the way Vince made it. You can't change that overnight. You have to rely on what Vince created. There's no choice. Because if Triple H tried to go ahead and disassemble what Vince McMahon created, he would fail. And as far as I'm concerned, the company that now owns them will not allow that. So Triple H is trying to go ahead and, make everyone happy. I really believe he's trying to do that. He is the player's coach. And so look at all these people that finally they got a chance to go ahead and do their matches and all. They're getting all their stuff together. And we're putting matches together because, you know what? The crowd wants it. We never gave the Jimmy and Jay match. Let's do it. Let's get Dominik and Rey together. Let's put that together. Let's do it. Let's get let's put a super trio group of Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill. Let's put them together. Right? The Final Testament, we've been giving them, weeks on SmackDown to do something. Let's put them on the show with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. They haven't really done anything. They haven't made a blip in the ratings. But you know what? Let's put them on there anyway. Let's give it to them because they deserve it. They deserve it. Instead of earn it. Instead of showing there's a big difference. Now, you want to say, Roman and Rock and Cody and Seth, they've taken up all the time. Sure they have. Sure they have. And you know why? With AEW, with MLW, with TNA, they don't have a season. Their momentum is year round. Listen, AEW, I don't feel like there's a particular moment where when they get to All In or All Out, that's when they're super hot. When they do the Arthur Ashe show, when they do, Wrestle Dream, when they do Double or Nothing, when they do Full Gear, when they do Revolution. No. They're consistent across the board. It's not like they have this thing where they got the one big super major show that you absolutely have to put everything and stack it up. Even TNA, Bound for Glory doesn't feel like it's the biggest show every year. I mean, it still is. But they do 4 major pay-per-views a year. You give me Rebellion. You give me Slammiversary. That's what matters to me. And that's what makes a difference. And I enjoy that a lot. But other than that, I just, it's like MLW, they're consistently with pay-per-views. There's not a season. In WWE, right? WWE, there's a season. They've built up WrestleMania season. And because of that, they kind of lost the track when it comes to the other pay-per-views because they're not as big as anymore. Because there was a point where Royal Rumble still matters, but it's part of WrestleMania season. SummerSlam doesn't get as much as it does. Money in the Bank, they try to build it up more. Money in the Bank feels like the level of SummerSlam, and Survivor Series is kind of there. And then they do some other big shows in big cities, and that's their deal. But it's not like you have, the kind of feeling where the WWE, where they have a lull in their ratings, right? They're going to have that consistency of the ratings where it just stays the same and interest drops away. So you get the interest right now, culminating into this weekend for 3 months, and then it fizzles. You know why? Because even in my podcast, I could be putting crap out there in terms of programming, in terms of content. But I know that one thing's for sure. If I'm talking about the WWE right here on this program, I know that I get a boost in viewership and listenership regularly from WrestleMania season. And it will tail off. Maybe not so much. But because we know there are the casual fans that will just listen for any kind of coverage they can on WrestleMania. Or any kind of coverage they can on anything wrestling. Because they'll be so intensely interested. But then it drops off. And it doesn't have to be like for other sports. Like, think about it. After football, NFL, we're not worried about this too much because we're still watching wrestling and all. Like, I don't think AEW or MLW or TNA or NWA, for that matter, they don't miss out on what they're doing. AAA and New Japan, they don't get caught up in the fact of like they have a particular season you have to worry about. I mean, New Japan has a Wrestle Kingdom. That's a pretty big show. But they also have big shows across the year as well that I think kind of hold up for them. And that's everybody. And so, NWA has their anniversary show. That's a big deal. They make a big crescendo to that. But they also have their other shows, their Hard Times, and, the other pay-per-views they always do. But WWE has their set up. And there's a couple of things they're not able to go and do. They can't make it where the WrestleMania season, where they can build to that level all year round. They're not capable of doing that. They got, of course, a more than enough roster to do that. They have more than enough time on television to go and do things where they can set things up. But what they're doing now, okay, we're not getting so much maybe the deal where we just have the same dancing partners for matches and the same feuds and all. We kind of still do. We still have that kind of that saturation of just like the same people are working with each other. But you do get good matches. And you do get some things where you kind of change things up a little bit. Just a little tweak here and there. And then you get some vignettes in here now. Oh, the production changes. Oh, look, we're going up an escalator into the stadium. That's so cool. We've been watching it in sports for years. And like the standard run-of-the-mill, die-hard, bubble WWE fan will like, ooh, this stuff. Look, we can see the crowd. We can see the lights different. We can see the rotating of the camera, the steady cam going around the ring. Ooh, the jib camera going across. Ooh, all right. Come on. You just can't be caught up and just feel like that's just going to make you feel warm and tingling all inside, okay? It's about what's in the ring. And with WWE, they're supposed to be more consumed with not just with what's in the ring. Because anybody can give you good matches. All right? We get good wrestling matches on almost every TV show we have of wrestling. The difference with WWE is that your stars are supposed to be characters. Developed, intensely developed, and larger than life. Let me tell you something. And if you think that we're going to get that right now, when you look at the future of this company, I have to play the face-off between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. And if all of you think right now that's an incredible future we have coming up for us, if you really feel like that's the best we're going to be, like if that's something we're getting in the future that they're going to rehash and replenish once again on the main roster, and we're all going to be like in awe of it, if you really think that, I mean, come on. All of you are the same people that are so consumed in watching superhero movies, right? I'm sure some of you are the same people that will like complain about anime not being as good. Or like here's Joker Voila Ado, right? Oh, look, Lady Gaga doesn't sound like Harley Quinn. Like all this is like nitpicking, right? But you're not going to nitpick all this? You're not going to expect quality across the board for wrestling, especially WWE? Really? Now I'm going to get into CM Punk and Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. All these interviews, we're going to get into those very shortly. But I still can't help but talk about the build-up leading up for WrestleMania this weekend and what we're going to be getting after WrestleMania. Okay? Because we're going to get the drop-off. The WrestleMania withdrawal. I talk about it every year. The off-season. And what's going to be felt after that. Because you feel all warm and fuzzy right now and feel good. Oh, wrestling's better than ever. The Rock says it right now. And what happens when they go away? What do you have left when they go away? We don't have any people injured right now. They're going to be coming from the woodworks, and all of a sudden we're going to get them in. Remember the free agents? We're not going to get that kind of stuff going on that's going to make a big difference, right? Like going to what? Even Adam Copeland said it tonight. Look at that. They got Ospreay, Mercedes Moné. They got Okada. Like, come on. And, of course, we got to talk about what CM Punk will say about that. But I just want to go back and play Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Final Face-Off from NXT. By the way, on YouTube, 94,000 views. That's it. That is it. When we're talking about Roman Reigns and The Rock or Seth and Cody, and those are getting 500,000 to 1 million views in a night, come on. So let's play this. Because you want to tell me that I feel like I should be enjoying all this, and like I think what they're doing right now is the best wrestling stuff I've ever seen, like in terms of promos? Okay. Because both of these guys could be better off. I don't know if they're scripted right now or not. But what everything sounds like, the build up to this match coming up for them, which has been built over for months, for Stand and Deliver this weekend, right? The future of WWE, right? These are two guys that have been given a whole lot of time on NXT, right? To come alongside with the up-and-coming Braun Breaker, Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and all the others that are coming up on the main roster, right? Let's play this.
Here we are, face to face. I guess we should both be happy. We main event the biggest show of the year. But it wasn't supposed to be like this. Trick Mellow Gang built a bond so strong that the whole world had to take notice. Trick Mellow Gang built a bond so strong. You and me, the first two black men to main event at PLE WrestleMania weekend ever. And as much as I want to be excited about that, happy about that, I'm having a hard time because I'm going to war with the man I used to call my brother.
Well, when you put it like that, Trick, I got to admit, you came a long way. You came a long way from that dark match in SmackDown when we had in Virginia.
That was my third match ever. Look, I was nervous. I ain't gonna lie. I was nervous. I didn't know if I belonged in this business. But I looked to my side, and you, my brother, was there for me.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, when we heard these kind of NXT promos before, everybody would just cringe. So we're just supposed to just forgive and just, give an exception to the way these guys are talking right now in this promo leading up to the main event of Stand and Deliver. We want to go and talk about the wrestling acumen. Yeah, it's going to be a great match. These guys work well in the ring, but coming out of the Performance Center, they're not supposed to just be good wrestlers. They just don't get to come in here and be good wrestlers and not cut good promos. And I'm not just saying cut a promo where they just get the message across. It's not like that. You could do that in any indie show if you want. You're supposed to have a step up. Now, that's on the company. The company needs to get more intensity out of them. They need to get more of a character out of them. Both. They have catchphrases. They don't have a different look for themselves. They're both wearing all black. Right? They just look like they could have come off a football field or a basketball court. That's it. But there's nothing overly unique or special about them. Because I can tell you, if you showed me them in the middle of a sporting event, like I could be at a Miami Heat game or a Miami Dolphins game, and you show me these guys, I might not even recognize them. They're not standing out to me being larger than life. If they don't have the size or the shape for it, of which we've been accustomed to in WWE, then you need to have something more. You got to have something more. There's a reason why Vince got all these guys all steroided up, because he wanted big, bulky, like, mastodon type guys. They had to have a certain physique. They had a certain look. Everything. No, that's nothing about these guys. But WWE forever has always made us expect something more. Because, listen, for The Rock and Stone Cold, for the one the size they were, and even Triple H for a while, they weren't the biggest size guys in the world, but you know what? But they had, you had something about their persona and who they are and what they did to them to layer upon layer upon layer give characters to all these stars. John Cena, same way. Randy Orton, same way. Over years. And the future of the company. Look, when you go back to the success story of what has been WWE NXT, the Wyatt family and the Shield, they were built together. And most of those guys did really well after that, coming out of there. Look at the Women's Revolution that came out of there and what they built from it. And why didn't keep that up? What they were doing at Full Sail should have kept it up. Hey, man, you know what? Oh, failed gimmicks? Okay, then you know what? You switch them up and there'll be something better. Some way they'll find a character or a gimmick that will work. But you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying. But no, it's too cool for school now. With Triple H in charge or Shawn Michaels in charge. Play a little more of this and we're going to move along to the CM Punk interview and all the other interviews that PR probably had a little bit of trouble trying to go ahead and spin around this week.
It was like that, Trick. But one thing you got to realize, at one point, it was me and you against the world. Now, at Stand and Deliver, it's me against you.
And the world's gonna be watching.
They will be watching. Just like they watched you ruin everything for everybody.
Nah, dog. You ruined it.
They're delivering lines just to deliver lines. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking to have like a little more of a kind of theatrical kind of thing to it. Come on. This is television. They have to deliver sports entertainment. They have to. Because if not, then what you're giving the audience out there, okay, the audience that complains so much and they want to bash at AEW on a regular basis is because you're not thinking about the international audience. You're not thinking about the worldwide audience that watches this show. How many of them are paying attention to these characters right here on NXT? Very simple, pretty much ingrained in themselves. Like they're pretty much just who they are. They're not talking out of turn. They're not talking, over the top. They're not giving me anything that feels like, sports entertainment. This is like a theater. Where is it? What is wrong with that? Give me the intensity. You guys are supposed to be like bitter enemies. Look at you. You're talking cordially. Like, you want to do a joust? Do you want to do some fencing? Some casual, dueling? Come on. There's no anger. There's nothing to it. Where's the heat? The crowd is lapping it up because he liked these guys anyway, because they're just taking it because he liked the wrestling. And that's it. But there has to be more. And then they cannot be leaving the Performance Center without that. Because then you're just going to let them hang. And then they're going to get stuck and they could fail. Now, I don't want them to fail. There's no doubt in my mind that, listen, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, very talented. They put out great matches. That's not the question. But how am I supposed to invest in them if they're not characters? You're supposed to be able to go and cut the promos, okay? Because you can go and give me a good wrestling match, but you know what? When I think of the people that always get me and my attention watching wrestling on a regular basis, and I go and think back, man. Hogan did that. Savage did that. Piper did that in the 80s. Go to the 90s. Shane Douglas. Tommy Dreamer. Bill Alfonso tucking for Taz and Sabu. The Dudleys. Okay? Triple H, every so often, was 20-minute promos, right? Rock. Austin. It wasn't their work in the ring. It's what they did to build up to the matches, man. To build up to everything. When I look at AEW, man, give MJF. MJF, man, that guy is just kicking ass. Like right now, Samoa Joe is a champion. I'm all in it for his promos because, I mean, hell, you learn, man. And you realize, come on, Ric Flair, how do you think he sustained his career so many years after what would be his prime? Okay? For him to continue to keep cutting the promos that he did, he's working in his 50s and 60s. And the guy could still give you rockin' promos all the time and build up for a match. And it was awesome. Like, come on. Dusty Rhodes, man, same thing. With Cody Rhodes, I feel that way too. With Seth Rollins, I feel that way too. They all give me that kind of feeling where it's like, you know what? Drew McIntyre gives me that feeling. CM Punk gives that feeling. They give you something more so that your excitement is well before they're in the ring. Because you're not thinking about what the match is supposed to be. Promos build to the matches. You got to come into these matches with heat. Where's the heat for this match? This face-off right here didn't give me that at all. It did not give me that at all. And so what's going on here? Why am I missing that? The heat for the signing of the contract right now for Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland at Dynasty. Whole lot of heat right there. Whole lot of heat. Rock and Cody. We're not even getting them in this match. We're just getting them as a tag team match. But Rock and Cody, look at the heat that have been built for the bloodline all this time leading up to now. Look at that. I'm going to tell you like this. Hey, man, are you thinking about Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre after CM Punk and Drew went ahead and had barbs with each other? I'm not. I'm thinking about where's CM Punk and Drew McIntyre? Like, I want that match. Give me that match at WrestleMania. We can't have it, but you know what? CM Punk and Drew McIntyre has way more heat than Seth and Drew. Rhea and Becky, they got heat. You have to build the heat. Where is it? And with WWE, they're supposed to be able to do things where it's not even so much angles that do it, but it could just be back and forth. I mean, damn, CM Punk and MJF, they had great matches, but you know what? I can always go back and watch the promos. And I've gone back to watch CM Punk and MJF talking shit. And that's just magical. And MJF against anybody, just talking shit, it's magical. Because for me, I'm the kind of guy that when I watch WWE stuff, I don't ever go back and watch matches. If I care about watching anything in the WWE at all, it's the promos, the theater, the heat building, the shit talking. That is what matters to me. That is what this company is meant to be, and that's what it's built on. The build up for every Saturday night main event. You know, Hogan going out there, pythons, prayers, vitamins, all that shit. Savage, same thing. Like, and then you just had other stars that they just built themselves up. Jake the Snake, go ahead and get him out there and doing stuff, right? Piper, get him out and doing stuff. Get Mr. Fuji with Kamala. All that. They just built it up. That is what WWE is supposed to be doing. They need to get back to that. I'm a broken record, but I will continue to say that going across on this show. Doesn't make a difference to me. Okay, like I said, we're going to go long tonight, but let's go and get into the CM Punk stuff because there's a lot to talk about there. A lot. But we'll go through some of the comments because for whatever reason, you know, there's just so much going on with wrestling right now and just, man, why, after such things going on at the moment, where things are going really well with the show, with WrestleMania and getting the build-up for it, and then hearing CM Punk on Ariel Helwani, that's just bash the competition. So let's play some CM Punk.
And I was very gracious, hammered out this promo. Oh, if you say this, what if you say this? Okay, I'll say this. Oh, if you say that, I'll say this. Okay, great. Great. Yeah, awesome. Great. And then he proceeds to go on live TV and not say any of the shit that we talked about. I can't hear him because the crowd's so loud and I'm looking at him and I have to really pay attention to what he's saying because my responses matter. I can't just say what I had planned because it's not going to match what he's saying to me. And he's saying some shit and I don't know what he's talking about. And I'm just like, man, why would you do this? Why would you ruin? TV is very expensive. You know, every minute of TV is hundreds of thousands of dollars between production and all that stuff. And you're just shitting on me and you're shitting on the business. Why would you do this? And I knew the promo ended with him punching me. And I had to fight just double leg him. Just double leg. Why is he doing this? I don't know what's going on, but I was a professional. And afterwards, I spoke to him and I was like, why'd you do that?
I'm not going to play more than that. But when I think about the CM Punk that spoke with Colt Cabana 10 years ago, and I think of how bitter and how sanctimonious and, you know, that he was such a darling when it comes to like caring about what's going on with television. Like he just cared about his own career. He is selfish. Okay. He is a narcissist. And that's okay. Listen, he has to be who he is right now to be able to make the business that he's done. And that's whatever. So he got upset about that part. All right, that's fine. And he does bash at other people too. Like just to kind of he has just to make his point on everything. Getting upset about what he said, you know, and what was being done in AEW. I mean, you don't get back into WWE without AEW and the run that you have. There's no doubt in my mind that if CM Punk never made the journey for 3 years into this company, WWE would not be giving him the spot they have right now. Because number one, he was working. Like CM Punk was actively training, in shape, even though the injuries, he had all this stuff going on. But you know what? He was working. He was getting himself back in. And he got himself back in the ring shape. He got his promos getting back up there, nice and solid. Like he was becoming the star that he was again. He was proving himself again that he still had everything, all the intangibles. Might have been slower, but he learned how to go ahead and change his game up. And that if the WWE wanted to go ahead and go after him again, well, all they had to do was wait for his contract to lapse or for him to get fired. And the firing, hey, Give the crowd what they want. So Triple H is really trying to go ahead and give that to the crowd. I can't blame him for that. I can't blame him for bringing back CM Punk. But again, what do you want? This guy goes in there. Now he wants to act like, oh, everything's fine and hunky-dory. He gets hurt again because he's fragile. And now he's doing interviews here. Yeah, he's involved in a match now because he's going to do commentary for McIntyre and Rollins. That's the build up for the match. Okay, so that's the heat you had to build for Rollins and McIntyre. Because without that, what heat do you have? What real heat do you have? Because the heat is drawn towards CM Punk. Here's more of him talking with Errol Hawani, MMA Hour.
I have a lot of friends there, and there's a lot of good people that work there. I hope they continue to get paid, and I wish them well.
How would you describe what it's like working for Tony?
Man, it's a loaded question, because I don't want this to be. I don't like the drama, But I mean, it's the truth is the truth. Like he's not a boss. He's a nice guy, and I think ultimately that is a detriment to the company. But it's not my company. Mm-hmm. I'm an outsider. I thought I was brought in to sell merchandise and tickets and draw numbers for pay-per-views and stuff, and I clearly did that. And
he did. But now you want to go talk about, Tony Khan's not a boss, but you know what? Triple H is not much of a boss either. Okay? Do we want to make comparisons? I mean, what is it that Tony Khan and Triple H have that's not much different? I mean, really, I think Triple H pretty much comes off as a nice guy, but he has his own control of what he wants on the roster. I think he has some kind of pull. But I think he's trying to do best for the people he has around him. He's trying to show he's like, not Vince. That's what Tony Khan's been doing, is not being Vince. Because nobody wants to have a Vince-like character when you probably need a Vince-like character in the locker room or around to handle things. Because you just can't build a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, and get all the success that they've had worldwide, which other sports franchises have not been able to do yet. But WWE has a footprint, a hold on what? Over 50 countries? Like television contracts all over the place. People know wrestling all over the world. All over the world. Triple H inherited that. But he's also just playing like, hey, look, I'm being nice with all the people around me, right? But that doesn't work for that company. You have to be hard-nosed. You have to be cutthroat. You're not going to make everybody happy. And there's obviously some people that are in there that are a bit disgruntled and having issues. And that's the part I don't like about it either. More from CM Punk.
And he says, real glass, why don't you cry about it? Where are you when this is said?
I was in my locker room.
Did you feel like that was directed at you?
Yes.
Why?
Okay, it obviously was directed at me.
Well, because, so for those that may not know, apparently he had a trip planned. He wanted to use glass. You were consulted. You said, why would you use glass? Correct me, you lived it. So I'm trying to bring people up to speed.
This is one of those things where it's just like, there's all these rumors about NDAs.
Yes.
There's a big difference between not being allowed to talk about some shit or just not wanting to talk about some shit. I don't necessarily want to litigate this again.
You say again, you've never talked about it publicly, but
no,
you mean
I guess I haven't, but that's the thing. So,
see, and he's just trying to go ahead and for all the time, he gets upset with a company, and it's like, he's never satisfied. He's at the company right now that he felt like he was going to die working with because he was put on the road being dragged down 300 dates a year, being given Z-packs, when he was feeling like he had much more injuries, bigger injuries and all, and then the staff, the medical staff was not helping him out. And when he gets to work a lighter schedule, works with all these good stars, and he's working in big crowds and all. And like, again, tickets, merchandise, PLEs, yeah, great. And then he has to go and put his 2 cents in about what's being done in the matches. Like he's trying to assert authority like a locker room leader. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be. Had more than enough leaders back there. Who asked you? Like, I mean, of course, put in your input, but you decide to go and put your hands on people because you just get pissed off. Can't help yourself. These kind of things just get upset and all. And it's like, when you even get Dave Meltzer thrown in the mix and all the stuff that's going on, and then Dave Meltzer has to go and comment about it, about CM Punk. Like, everyone wants to go and believe and listen to CM Punk. And there are people out there that obviously want to take on CM Punk's side for one reason. Because he's finally on the WWE roster. He's not CM Punk the outsider where we'd like to have him back. No, he's already back. So now, no matter what CM Punk says, he's given a pass. You don't want to go ahead and believe it. You don't want to accept the fact that you're just you're giving him a pass because you are. Here's Dave Meltzer commenting about CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani.
But I sure as hell knew that there were problems because Punk did that interview with Sports Illustrated, where he blamed me, by the way. Not even me. He blamed the Young Bucks for telling me, and again, I should have immediately, immediately when he said that, I should have just contacted him and just gone, dude, it's not the Young Bucks. And I mean, he still goes with that narrative, even though I did tell him that, but I didn't tell him it right away because I just thought, let him blow off steam. I can take the heat. I don't really care. But, and I mean, the whole thing of, the goof with the 5 stars and everything, that was a cool shot. But, I mean, he contacted me plenty of times and I wasn't such a goof talking TV ratings when he came in and just goes, you got to explain TV ratings to me because I'm not, it's not something that I've learned. So you got to,
it's like CM Punk, the victim, loves that victim card. And here's the thing. I don't want to go ahead and bash or put anybody down. I'm not here to punch down because that is what CM Punk's doing right now. Listen, you got everything you wanted. Even after you got fired, you failed forward. You got back into the good graces of WWE 10 years after you walked away. You're back in there now once again. And for the most part, people are happy you're back. Oh, the older CM Punk, a little more gracious, a little more, wiser. Okay, good. But we have people that will go ahead and take the side of CM Punk or just take the side of the fact that, it has to be defending to the right of, if it's in WWE, if somebody's in WWE's fold, we're going to stand up for them. One person that goes with that, I'm not going to use his name. But we're going to take this comment here. Because the mindset of what WWE fans think every other wrestling company should be doing. Okay. There's a bubble of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren. I'm going to say it like this. That you enjoy the fact of saying, well, what WWE does right now, you still critique on a daily basis. You can nitpick all over the place. Nitpick it like Swiss cheese. Find holes all over the place. And then you feel like you can go ahead and say, well, meanwhile, they're not doing that great. But you know what? We can tell you, all you other companies, that you need to be doing better. And so here's what we got. Of course, we want to go and use stats. We want to use ratings. We want to use all this and that. So here's what's being said. The fact that my fellow podcast wrestling brethren love to be Monday morning quarterbacks. Tuesday morning quarterbacks. Let's just say it like that. Can't help themselves. And they think they know what's best for wrestling. When, by the way, WWE gives you about 30% of a great product. The other 70%, it's middle of the road. It's mediocre. And it can be so much better. But their focus is on certain storylines, certain main events. So the mid-card is always ignored. Yeah, it's a little more interest, a little more intrigue now if you're following along on TV enough, but not that much. Triple H hasn't given that much to that yet. Given a little bit, a couple of carrots, little crumbs here. No, they're trying. But you're never going to see them in the beginning of a set or the end of a show, main event stories, right? You're not going to get that, or they're not going to be main eventing pay-per-views. And who knows if they're going to ever get that chance down the line. So here's one of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, who gets a much bigger audience than I do. Says that AEW as amateur is as far as leadership is concerned. Punk said AEW isn't a business and that they are not here to make money, sell tickets, etc. They live with an indie mindset where they are happy to put on 5-star matches in a building that is a quarter full. This entire mindset needs to change. CM Punk flat out said he told Tony Khan to do something about the Jack Perry situation in the moment, otherwise he will. Tony did nothing, as Boss did nothing. Punk also said he never did anything to threaten Tony, as what was reported online. Okay, so the Adam Page and, Full Gear incident, that's been flushed out, whatever. But we're also going back to that part, because everyone had to talk about that part. And then they went to the part about Jack Perry, right? Goes on to say then, what it's like working for Tony Khan. Punk said he's not a boss and it's a detriment to AEW. Some will not like this because it's just Punk's side and no one else's. There are two sides. I hope none of this isn't the case now with Tony Khan and the leadership in AEW. And then the follow-up comments come up. Oh, he needs to get a creative team that can control the locker room. The vets need to take ownership. Maybe it might be happening, but will take a while. And then, it's the same person of the fellow podcast wrestling brethren goes along in comments and says, Tony has made strides to bring in a writing team. He has vets that have taken more of a leadership role in the locker room. Like I said, I hope this isn't the issue anymore. But what they think, their vision of what AEW is supposed to be, is they wish they had all those stars in AEW working in the WWE. That's it. Because there's so many stars they see that they're not happy, they're not working in WWE. Okay? They're internally not happy Mercedes Moné is not back at Sasha Banks in the WWE. What will she be doing? She would be add to that tag team match, the trios match coming up this weekend? And then what about Okada? How are you going to use him? If MJF were to go over, because MJF, saying The Rock, stop, using my ex-girlfriend and her paintings and all this crap, right? MJF's going to go and visit. He's going to go to do the WWE, right? What are you going to do with MJF? You just want these stars there. You don't even give a shit about what they're going to do over there. You don't care. You don't even think about, you're not even forward thinking about the fact that what could they be doing? Oh, dream matches. So they're just matches. They could have had it anywhere else. And the comments about AEW and the full houses and all this and the lack of full houses, I'm so done with it. I'm so done with it, man. They're saturated with shows, man. They're doing a lot of shows now. And they're visiting venues quite a bit. I don't know why they're not selling out and why they're having issues with the shows. Or if those pictures that are being taken at the shows or during the times when the show is going on and, people are just getting them at the right time. I don't know. Not sure what it is. But hey, it's what people are going to have and what they're going to complain about, man. What are you going to do? Do I want to play anything else from CM Punk? I'll try one more clip. Here we go. No, that's the same one I played before. All right. But those are the two things that really got the most talk. Then there's the stuff with Becky Lynch that went along a lot of things. Steve Fall of WrestlingNews.co, CEO, he spoke with Becky Lynch about her new book, Becky Lynch, The Man, Not Your Average Girl. So there were some quotes that were made from the interview that were put in. So in the interview, Steve Fall asks about the women's revolution being created by a man. And Becky Lynch doesn't hold anything back. She says, quote, so we talked about that in the book where I thought I was stupid, you know? Like, I thought I was so stupid, we're freeing you. From you? From you? It was such a classical marketing thing. I was just like, just give us good storylines and let us wrestle, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need to treat this as anything different. And I kind of go into depth about in the book about how we started where it was like. The floor is yours. It's up to you what to do. What are we meant to do here? We were meant to wrestle. Oh, okay, cool. What are we fighting about? Evolution, revolution. Well, what? It was so poorly executed and just didn't need to happen in that manner in that way. But I suppose it was the marketing thing, and yeah, it wasn't executed well. And just overthought because the thing in NXT, we were just having good matches and having storylines, and nobody was making a big deal about it. At the time, I was kind of saying these things, but you know, also had to keep it to the point too. But the point was all that was done with good intentions, right? It was like, okay, we realize that people want this. They want to see us wrestle, and let's do this. Let's do it in the best way we know how, over the top, you know. And so, like, these things we're done with good intentions, so we can nitpick, we can talk about whatever, but look like this is progress. This has changed, and sometimes you're going to make a mistake on the way, several mistakes, lots of mistakes, but eventually we'll get there. You just have to work on it and iron out the kinks and continue to push the boundaries and continue to point out these things so it can get better, and it has continued to get better over the years. But the part was that the women's revolution, I mean, the follow through right now, where is the next generation to take over for the women's revolution? For Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, right? I mean, we're all talking about that. We have some names in there, but it's like, you know, what's coming up now, we're kind of struggling with. We're trying to get more out of what's going on with the roster and getting some stars that are just out there to get much of a difference. Like, you know, remember, the stars that we have right now and how built up they've been over the years. Not so much Io Sky, but Bayley, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, they've all gone through so many transformations to get to where they are now. And that's just a big change up. And we don't even think about where it's all coming from and what has been done as a result. But it's like, I mean, remember, Becky Lynch, with other matches that she had, either with Ronda Rousey or with Charlotte Flair, you know, you think about the fact that, all right, well, they were main eventing. Are any of these matches at all this weekend going to be main eventing on night one or night two? No. Probably not. You could say the dual main events, I guess. But I feel like, absolutely, the women's title matches, they feel like they're, you know, they're mid-card. I don't feel like they have a main event feel. They're just part of the card. And that's okay, I guess, but like I don't feel there's much more to it. And then we move on to Ronda Rousey, who also did not. Oh, and by the way, we should get back to CM Punk real quick before I go move along to that. Let's get back to CM Punk because there was a couple of comments that were being made out there, and you know, people definitely talked. Eddie Kingston made comments. He spoke to Adrian Hernandez, and I guess he's with WrestlingNews.co about Punk's recent comments. And here's Kingston's response. A couple of curse words, we're going to say them. And he don't work for us. I don't give a fuck. Honestly, he don't work for us, so I don't care. That's it. I'm not even mad. If it sounds like I'm mad, that's just the way I talk. But no, I don't care. I don't. I know other people really don't give a fuck because he doesn't work for AEW, and that's the way I look at it. If you worked for AEW and did that, then I might feel a certain way for a little bit. Then I would just go let it go and go, well, that's Phil being Phil. Can't control him. That's his thing. He ain't me, and I ain't him, so I don't care what he does. So let's move along to Ronda Rousey. She just happens to be around, during WrestleMania season. And I guess, well, hey, Ronda Rousey, let's talk to her because she's a WWE superstar. And we're hearing about things now where Ronda Rousey made some points about somebody, being inappropriate to her backstage in the locker room. So the initial story from Ronda Rousey is this. In her autobiography, she ripped Vince McMahon following the horrific allegations made against him by former WWE employee Janel Grant. We'll talk about that later. She also knocks Bruce Prichard and John Laurinaitis in the WWE culture, but has been critical of interviews but she has praised Triple H. So she was on News Nation. Ronda Rousey accused WWE star Drew Gulak of inappropriate content while being backstage at the WWE show. And I think I'm going to go and try to look for that comment real quick, because for me to go and say it, I'd rather just let it come out of her mouth, what she said. So here's what we got from Ronda Rousey.
Well, it's not surprising, and I can tell you the reason why nobody else is speaking out is because they know that there will be negative repercussions if they say anything about the company that the company doesn't like, and so everybody's being held hostage by their careers. But since I don't plan on going back there unless they make some very major changes, I feel free to say whatever I want to say.
And here's the comments that she made about Drew Gulak and what he did to her allegedly.
Okay, but this guy grabs the string of my sweatpants and nobody else reacts as if this is abnormal. And he grabs it and he starts going down the hall, and I'm just like, what the was that? Why are you grabbing the string of my sweatpants? If my husband was standing here next to me, would you feel comfortable walking up to me and grabbing the string of my sweatpants? And nobody around me acted as if it was abnormal.
Who was this guy?
Dude, I swear to God, I know exactly what he looks like, and I completely am blanking on his name. Is this part of my concussion test? Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak. That's who it was. Yes. Yeah, I went and confronted him later, and I was like, if I ever hear about you putting your hands on any other woman like this or doing anything like this to me ever again, we're going to have I'm editing myself all the swear words out, but we're going to have a problem.
And by the way, for whatever reason, Ariel Helwani in the MMA Hour is also just like a lightning rod for just getting some controversy out there. So Becky Lynch also talked about Ronda Rousey's wrestling abilities, saying, quote, I mean this with respect, but she couldn't wrestle. What we do isn't just something you could just have one good match and then, okay, I'm off the races. It's a craft. You have to learn your craft. And you have to be diligent about learning your craft. But everybody treated Ronda like she already knew it, because when she first came in, she was good in that first bout. But she was working with Kurt Angle, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. It was a well-rehearsed match. But because everybody wanted her to have a good first match, it was like, okay, she can do this, it's off to the races, and that was mishandling her. So let's go and take the comments that Becky Lynch made. We'll let her say it.
When you love this, you look to try and make it better. How can I make this better? She was coming from a different industry. She was a star, and she should have been handled differently in terms of, I think she had such a great first outing that everybody thought, oh, she can wrestle. And I mean this with respect, but she couldn't wrestle. What we do isn't something that you can just have one good match and then, okay, yeah, no, I'm off to the races. It's a craft, and you have to learn your craft, and you have to be diligent about learning your craft. But everybody treated Ronda like she already knew it, because when she first came in, she was good in that first bout, but she was also working with Kurt Angle, she was working with Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. It was a well-rehearsed match, because everybody wanted her to succeed. And then it was like, okay, she can do this off to the races. And that was mishandling her, because she was, a star in her own right, and she had done so much for MMA, and so in terms of that and booking, that wasn't done well.
There's more to it, but that's really It's kind of stuff we're getting right now that we're getting all this here. That's just, wow. It sucks. But here's what we got. Okay. Now, Drew Gulak comments about this. And he says that on Twitter, or X, by the way, I saw Ronda talking with a group in the hallway. I stopped to say hi and shake all their hands. In an attempt to shake her hand, I accidentally touched her drawstring. Complete accident, and one that I had apologized to her for the mishap. Okay. I'm not even sure where it's all coming, but he makes comment, okay, he says it happened. Okay. But for whatever reason, everybody got all, in a fuss about it. And Ronda Rousey had to go and make some comments about it. Well, okay. Everybody just, these are the kind of things that got the headlines. And it takes away from WrestleMania. It takes away. All right, we're going to go ahead and get things moving here. We're going to go move along now. We'll do preview and predictions in just a moment, but because this happened this week, too much going on. Like I had a short show last week. Look at this. I'm going an hour, 10 minutes already. A little more than that. So Janel Grant, we have to talk about this because there's enough that's going to be said here. We got a lot coming out of this. So New York Post reports a woman who alleges she was sexually abused by Vince McMahon wrote a gushing love letter to the former WWE CEO, which she declared Dugo was in love with a capital L, and she now claims that McMahon coerced her to do it. This is from the New York Post. Janel Grant, whose bombshell lawsuit landed a day before the wrestling icon abruptly stepped down as executive chairman of TKO Group Holdings, penned a lengthy email to McMahon dated December 24, 2021, in which she called him, quote, my best friend, my love, and my everything, end quote. After almost 3 years, she says, and she writes in this letter, it's like my life isn't even real unless you're there and in it, and I'm sharing it all with you. And the letter goes on and stands in contrast with her explosive lawsuit that was filed in the federal court in Connecticut in January that claimed that McMahon allegedly defecated on Grant's head during a threesome in May 2020, some 18 months before she wrote the alleged love letter. And Callis, who we talked about on the program here, Grant's attorney, a former, a district court judge or county court judge, something like that. And then she ran for office and she lost. And now she's a lawyer, really hasn't done much with herself. But I'm just complaining about this lady and what she's trying to get. But look right here. I mean, New York Post is reporting on it. Let's see what she says here about this note. Ann Cowles, Grant's attorney, says, quote, frankly, it's pretty disgusting that Vince's weeks late attempt to defend his horrendous behavior, he claims this day never happens, is to try to showcase letters that Vince himself coerced her to write. His psychological torture for her continues as is typical of abusive predators who respond to women speaking out with increased threats. While Janel is an estranger of his intimidation tactics, this is a new low even for him. And then McMahon's attorney, Jessica Taub Rosenberg of law firm Kanselwitz Benson Torres, told the Post this is, quote, revisionist history. No one coerced Mrs. Grant to write that letter. She wrote it of her own accord. The fact that the letter shows up the 24th draft speaks volumes. And by the way, New York Post has the letter. Rosenberg goes on to say, quote, nowhere in her voluminous complaint that is replete with fabrications does she mention being coerced into such behavior. Remember, there was a full, I forget how many pages letter in the lawsuit where they went through talking about this. And all of a sudden, this is going on here? What? The language of the letter is consistent with other communications she made to Mr. McMahon over the course of their consensual relationship. And a spokesperson for Grant revealed that on December 21st, 3 days before sending the letter, Grant texted McMahon that she had surgery on her pointer finger, saying, quote, I think I'm tapping out today, end quote. And then in the alleged text exchange obtained by the Post, which was not included in Grant's lawsuit, but alleged as genuine by a spokesperson for Grant, McMahon responded, quote, damn it, sorry, baby, end quote, with 2 heart emojis. And then you see in the text, they go in and say, how will I write your letter? She writes, I can type and read it or try to write it in a couple days. I'm sorry if I mess this up. I want you to have a nice letter. And then Grant's representative, who asked to remain unnamed, said that Grant had written love letters at McMahon's request so many times, she resorted to padding them with existing material from pop culture, including a GQ interview with Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, published 2 months before Grant's letter. And in the GQ piece, Molly Lambert said of the celebs' relationship, the carnal component is clearly off the charts, but they can be so sweet and funny. Language is listed nearly word for word in Grant's letter. Another passage, Grant said, quote, I felt understood, accepted, and loved, and appreciated for who I am and my core, you see my heart, you see my soul. There are a few people who know the secret of making a heaven on here on earth. You're one of those rare people. And that was ripped from a 1947 film, The Bishop's Wife. Okay. And this email was 2,200 words, taken from Grant's laptop as part of an investigation on behalf of WWE's board by white shoe law firm Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, expected to appear in court filings as the case progresses, according to sources close to the situation. So remember, this is when the internal investigation of the WWE was going on before TKO Group Holdings took over the company. So they're going to give their findings to the court. I mean, Janel Grant, this is evidence you have to now defend. I mean, what are you going to do when McMahon's lawyers go into cross-examination if Miss Grant ever goes to trial and she has to go take the stand? She has to handle this part. This does not help her case. Again, like I said, you want to expect that, Vince McMahon is going to go to jail. No, he's not. He's not. Diddy's going to go to jail before Vince McMahon does. And I don't think Vince McMahon is going to ever go to jail. I think he's going to eventually pass away with a lot of things, a lot of skeletons in his closet. I think he's done a lot of shit in his past. I do believe that. I don't think he's anywhere sacrosanct or at least without, judgment. Absolutely not. Could never say that. You have to be some kind of a lunatic to be able to do what he's done in his career. Just got to say that. Anyways, there's more to it, but that's something we're just going to learn about from there. We'll leave it there. And now let's go and move along to a few other more things. Let's go and talk about WrestleMania itself. So again, we're going to be having a post show. I will do a post show on Saturday and Sunday nights after both nights of WrestleMania, and we'll do all of that. Now, we talked quite a bit on the actual show about what we're getting in terms of what the show is and what we're getting so far. Matches are going to be good. We know that. I have no doubt about that. We'll just see how they build up and see if anything comes of these matches that'll be something more interesting altogether. That's the part I want us to look at as well. I'll take one more of the story. I'll take real quick. AEW did do some multiple talent cuts after evaluating their roster. And as I checked this, originally we already had Stu Grayson, Dasha Carrette, Anthony Henry, Gravity, Jose the Assistant, Slim J, Parker Boudreaux, George Joel, and the boys who accompanied Dalton Castle. They all have been let go. Okay, so let's get into the matches we had this weekend. Preview predictions. These are just, very casual, but very bold in my opinion. I do believe Cody Rhodes will beat Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I think that Seth and Cody will lose their tag team match to Rock and Roman Reigns, and the match will have bloodline rules. I believe The Rock will be the reason why Roman Reigns loses the belt, and that will in turn create the heat between Rock and Roman Reigns to make them face each other down the line head to head without a belt. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, I believe. I'm going to say that Seth Rollins wins after Drew McIntyre does a lot of damage to him, and that Damian Priest is going to cash in on Seth Rollins. And Damian Priest will be leaving WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion. Calling it down. And then Damian Priest will be off as champion. I think Drew McIntyre and CM Punk move along to their own device. And then I think Seth Rollins goes after Cody Rhodes. And that's how they kind of set things up for those main event matches going up after WrestleMania. Bayley will beat Io Sky. I will take Randy Orton over Logan Paul and Kevin Owens and become the new United States champion. I will take AJ Styles over LA Knight. I'll take Becky Lynch over Rhea Ripley. The Undisputed Tag Team Championship 6-pack ladder match. So many people in this match. Judgment Day, DIY, New Day, Awesome Truth, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, New Catch Republic. I will take Theory and Waller to win the tag team titles, and Judgment Day will drop those belts. And then Damian Priest will get a chance to go ahead and cash in. Jay versus Jimmy, the Usos. I will take Jay Uso over Jimmy. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Naomi versus Damage CTRL. I will take Jade, Bianca, and Naomi. And Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee versus Dominik Mysterio and Santos Escobar. Yeah, I'm totally not into the LWO. And then Dominik Mysterio just finally getting dropped into the mix last minute just to create the match with Rey Mysterio. And now Dragon Lee now joins LWO. Not much into it. But I will take Dominik and Santos to win over. Yeah, I'll take them to win. And actually, I think Dominik will somehow there'll be a rift between Judgment Day and Legado del Fantasma. And I think we'll see a rift there that will cause issues down the line. Because all those belts that the Judgment Day will have, they'll have lost, except for Damian Priest. I don't know. There's something there where I might see something going on. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Because I don't know how much time we have left for Judgment Day. If that remains a faction after WrestleMania, what they're going to become. I'm just kind of curious about that. And that's it. WrestleMania this weekend. So much coming up for that. Thanks for listening to an extended episode of the program. Of course, you're going to hear a lot more of me, but I'll try to keep the episodes pretty short as we get to those so that we'll have time for everything else. Like, there's a lot of other wrestling shows you'll listen to, but I really do appreciate all of you checking in on this program and listening in as you do. It's really wonderful that you do. I really appreciate it. So anyway, WrestleMania coverage, post shows, this Saturday and Sunday night, kingofpodcasts.com. Come back this weekend for more Wrestling Is Real podcasts because wrestling needs us.